we need to remember that inflation hits different asset classes in different ways. Our strategy in Europe revolves mainly around student housing. And while student housing has shown a remarkable resilience in downturns, and we've seen then in 2008 and then again during COVID, the sector has never seen a recession coupled or essentially caused by inflation. So this is something that we need to monitor and definitely manage in the short term. Inflation has definitely caused us some apprehension and some sleepless nights. We've seen a huge increase in construction costs across jurisdictions in all the markets we operate, in the UK, in Ireland, in Spain, in Italy. We have seen obviously an increase in cost of debt, and we use leverage to develop our building. And because we operate all the assets we develop, we have seen a spike in OPEX, which mainly are driven by the massive increase in utility costs. In student housing, we have the luxury of being able to increase rent. So far we've been able successfully to pass on all these increasing costs to the final users, the students, and we haven't seen, without impact, any substantial impact in lease velocity or occupancy. So far, I would say, so good.
You've got to be really rifle shot with student housing. Micro-location is super important. Proximity to university is super important. The quality of the product you produce is super important. And as a cross-border investor in PBSA and an operator, we think we understand that quite well in each of the jurisdictions, because we are in contact with the tenants in every asset that we buy, in direct contact with them daily, and we employ all the teams who interact with the tenants. So we think we understand what they want. Geographically, because we're focused on the individual locations, we are, and we're pan-European, we're working in different countries who have different legislation surrounding residential accommodation, some of which applies to students, some of which does not. So if I take two extreme ends of the spectrum, we operate in the Netherlands, where we have very, very closely controlled rents in the Netherlands. So you're almost building up your rental point from a base cold rent plus utilities plus furniture plus to get to the headline rent. And then you have to hit certain levels, and then students get subsidies, and it's all very, very controlled and defined. So in that instance, you're against an inflationary backdrop. You might have indexation in your rents or in parts of your rent, but again, it's very granular, and you build up your rents in a very granular fashion. But it's pretty controlled, it's inflation linked, and it's way better than having an indexing lease which is reviewed every 5 years, because it's reviewed annually. So that's one extreme in the Netherlands. Let's take the opposite extreme, maybe in the UK, where you've got largely free market rents, and actually every year you rebase the rents and you look at what your incoming cost lines are, you look at what the rents are, you look at what the market will bear, you look at what's fair to the students, and you put all those things together and you come up with a pricing policy. So opposite ends of the spectrum. But what's underlying it all is that the supply demand is incredibly strong, all of the assets are really full, and you have the ability to drive the rent, or the rents will increase with indexation or with the market, and that depends in which of those jurisdictions you are, at what level that's going to happen.